Hey, Viking fans, Johnny Football is about to tell us what's up about our 2023 NFL Draft next in 3, 2, 1. Gather around, Skull Brothers and Sisters. This is Skull World Live, brought to you by Minnesota Sports Talk. Make sure you hit subscribe, leave a comment. Help me Hulk smash the YouTube algorithms. Let's go. Johnny Football here every week on Minnesota Sports Talk to give us all the shit, all the news. And hey, what was your draft experience? Where were you, Johnny, when all this shit went down?
I was streaming on Bite Size Sports Network for day one. Day two, I was working pretty long, and then we were kind of sick at the house. And then day three, I was working and just listening to the draft as it came down. But I'm sure we'll start there, but I've had to kind of talk myself back into the Addison selection. Not necessarily for the player it's himself, just kind of the opportunity cost of taking Jordan Addison, the wide receiver, at 23, sticking and picking. I was not a fan of that initially, live anyway. But, as you kind of see the draft class round out a little bit, I know we'll talk some of the UDFAs, which cannot go all the way overlooked. But kind of seeing it round out as a whole, I think I'm seeing the vision a little bit. I get the pick. They must have been really high on him in the building. I was pretty lukewarm on Addison, but I don't know. It'll be another guy opposite JJ, and I think he's kind of that similar type of receiver to JJ, at least coming out. A guy who a lot of people say, oh, he should be relegated to the slot. Look at his size. So the same things about JJ, but he's kind of found ways to win all over the field. So I think it's a good fit in that regard. He's got a lot to learn from JJ, but I was kind of talking myself off the ledge most of Thursday night. But
all right, Johnny's off the ledge, but here's a guy about to step on the ledge, and that is David Woods from Skull State of Mind. How you doing, man?
I'm doing
tell Johnny Football where he's wrong about Jordan Addison, or no, I don't know. Tell me what your thoughts about our first round draft pick. Go, man, go.
I mean, at first, I feel the same way, Johnny Football. Like they could have did something else differently with it. I mean, receivers are always going to be like hit or miss, bust factor, especially we picked JJ, and what about the receivers that the Vikings drafted in the first round before him? Those guards didn't even pan out. Troy Williamson, Treadwell, all those guys were drafted kind of high too. I'm just worried that the Vikings might have a problem on their hands if this guy is actually pretty good, because how are we going to pay two top-notch receivers without a quarterback, just looking forward. But let's see what happens. I'm optimistic. I mean, we really don't know what direction Kwesi and his tendencies yet, because it's only his second draft. So I think it's more of a waiting to see approach.
Well, the one thing there, as far as how are we going to pay two top, because the receivers' salaries are crazy. Well, his salary will be hampered a little bit because he's number 2, but they're staggered. I mean, we're going to be entering the 4th year of JJ's and the 1st year of Jordan Addison. So, yeah, we have a good problem for a while. We know what's coming, but it's 5 years away. It looks like to me. So, my thoughts on that first pick, and let's actually put him up here, was he could run routes, right? That's my thought process. He put some defensive backs on skates. Some people listed him or said he's the best route runner in the draft. There's some people had him as the best receiver in the draft. I didn't even bother looking at him because of the way people talked about him, is I didn't think he'd be anywhere near us. And I was thinking, Quentin Johnson, maybe, possibly. Flowers, maybe, possibly. I didn't even bother looking at Jordan Addison. Johnny, did you even put him on your guys to look at list? No. So
Nope.
Johnny hated him the whole time and didn't want to even talk about him, apparently. But why? Johnny, tell me, was he someone you didn't really consider? Like, you don't think he was a good fit for us, or what were you thinking?
I don't know that it was. I don't think he was a good fit. I just thought that as far as like a complementary skill set goes,
Okay.
to that of Jefferson and the way we're going to work Hockenson into the offense, I just felt that somebody who brings a different element to the offense would be something they would look at, like a Zay Flowers, like even a Quentin Johnston, just because I feel like they're much more dynamic after the catch and or in the end around game, in the screen game. I mean, they threw some tunnel screens to Jordan Addison. Don't get me wrong; he can move a little bit, but and outside of that, when I looked at guys like Cedric Tillman and A.T. Perry, I was looking at guys who I'm confident can beat press and can fight through press. Jordan Addison wins against press differently than those bigger framed guys. So that still concerns me a little bit. I mean, his release package is great. He's obviously a great route runner once he gets a little bit of separation, and he's great at getting some. But yeah, when I was looking at this class, I was just looking for guys who I thought would bring a bit of a new element to the offense. And I don't think redundancy is necessarily bad, but I think he's a similar style receiver to Jefferson in that regard. And I was just kind of looking for something to mix it up a little bit, I guess. With
David, were you looking at more of are you looking defense in the first round? Were you kind of sold on something, or was there other receiver maybe? For me, I thought it was like really good receiver or best defensive player available. And I was looking at Deonte Banks myself at cornerback. He went one spot after us. And then the third round, the guy right before our pick was the other guy I really liked from Clemson. And he got taken right before us, and we traded down. So I was like, I almost had my, two guys I really liked. But like Johnny says, I was looking at A.T. Perry late. He went in the 6th round. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, was there a guy in the first round you were looking at, or give me a few guys you were thinking of?
Actually, when it got to like in the 20s, I'm looking at the draft, I'm looking like, okay, best case scenario is they're not going to take a quarterback right now. So maybe they're going to trade back and accumulate more picks. That's what I was hoping for at 23, the way the draft fell. But I mean,
it almost fell perfectly, right? Because that's what, when he was going, we were all talking on our chat that, hey, this draft is falling perfectly. Look at all these guys there.
Right.
And go ahead. Keep
talking. Right. So at 23, I was like, okay, Joey Porter Jr. is probably going to get drafted right here. And that didn't happen. And I was like, okay, Addison, he was projected to go a little bit higher. But I mean, we don't know what happened on why he fell. But I was just hoping, I wanted more depth. I kind of like a lot of the stuff that they did with the UDFAs. Those are the kind of guys.
I got a list. I got them at the end, but we can talk about it. You want to bring some up?
I was more worried about. I understand like an opposite receiver of Jefferson is really important, but I was kind of skeptical. Like, I hope they don't go into the season and not have any kind of youth at linebacker. Like I was really worried about the linebacker slot. Like, I see Asamoah. I think he's undersized, and Jordan Hicks really didn't play good last year. So
we got another undersized guy in Ivan Pace Jr., at least height wise, but he looks like he's got a little dog in him, and he's a tackle machine, a blitz machine. He's running downhill. He's kind of like a more muscular Asamoah to me. I don't know why he wears his shirt like a midriff, because he does not have 8-pack. Does not have an 8-pack, but that guy does not want to wear his shirt down, his uniform down. I think it's a Cincinnati thing, because I saw some of his teammates doing the same thing. It's like bringing back to the 80s where we all had those mesh jerseys when I
Yeah.
played, and they're all cut off shirts. And Nebraska, I swear they didn't have, you know, they shrunk in the washing machine. But yeah, Pace, he looks like one of my colleagues, and you know who I'm talking about, Rap. He wanted this guy in the 3rd round, and he fell all the way to undrafted free agent. Is this a guy was this like the highlight of our UDFA class?
No.
No? Okay. Shut up, Dave. Who is the highlight?
The linebacker from Army. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
The edge from Miami. Yeah, outside linebacker.
Right.
6'7".
Yeah, I want something like we need some size.
Well, one of the things is kind of throwing me off a little bit on him, because he looked like a man among boys because he was playing boys. This kind of on his highlight reel, it's all him against these little guys because they're from whatever school they were playing. I mean, you don't even recognize these schools if you're not into college football.
Right.
But they weren't playing the greatest competition. I think he was wanting to be a tight end, but he knew he was going to Army. So he says, "Let me go because we don't throw the ball. I'm gonna go play. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go play D lines to get some action." So I think, but yeah, he's physically an NFL football player.
Right. It all comes down to the coaching staff, what they can do to coach these guys up and actually mold these guys and see who's going to actually get on the field. Because my big problem that I had with last year is like going into last year, we all knew that the defense was going to be bad, you know, but Donatello didn't really want to play the rookies actually on defense. He only played them on special teams a lot. So it's going to be real interesting to see, you know, how Flores molds these guys and see which guys are actually going to, you know, crack the lineup and actually, you know, play.
Johnny, what did you think of these two guys, these two linebackers we got?
Yeah, I like Carter. He had some first round buzz.
I listened to an interview of him with Fowler and Sims talking about the first round at the combine. And I'm like, he's now. And do you think it's an Army thing? Like people are not sure if like the you know, we got that, was it that long snapper from Air Force during when Trump was president, and he signed some bill allowing the servicemen to go like wherever. And now apparently it was some questions about it. They did it again, and he was able to enter the draft kind of like on a deferred thing. Is it because it's Army, the competition? Why would this guy fall if he had buzz in earlier rounds?
That could be part of it. A lot of it was as simple as his strength as it is. Like he's probably a year away from being a serviceable player on the defense. Like he's a practice squad lock.
Right. I mean, yeah, I'm assuming he's going to be on the practice squad.
Right. And he might sneak onto the roster. But I think he's a little ways away from being NFL ready. But I mean, I didn't see him slipping out of the draft for something like that, especially when teams know they can get him onto their programs, you know, right away. Ivan Pace is, I mean, he's a missile. He's a little undersized. Like you mentioned, I think he's 5.
We don't like tall linebackers. We don't like tall linebackers.
Yeah.
Well, unless they're on the outside. Middle linebackers, we want them. We want them to just run across the middle and just put their hands up and just have the quarterback throw over their heads, because apparently we could possibly have two under 5'11" and under middle linebackers on our team. But I interrupted. Go ahead, man.
Oh, you're good. No, something about Pace though is as a blitzer, which Brian Flores loves out of his linebackers, he had the highest pass rush win rate of anybody in this class. It was over 30%. Next was Drew Sanders with 20.8%. He racked up 12 sacks and 55 pressures on something like 150 pass rush snaps. And he's a missile, man. The guard out of Florida, Osiris Torrance, for a lot of people was the best interior offensive lineman, best guard in the draft. And there's a rep where Torrance is pulling, and they're playing Cincinnati. Torrance pulls and Pace meets him outside the tackle and knocks his chest through his back. And Torrance fell down all the way and tripped up the back, and Pace hardly budged. I mean, just at the point of contact, absolutely decked a 330-pound second-round guard. So I think a lot of what let him slip was just size and athleticism, and he's not a great athlete. But the Vikings went after production over raw athleticism a lot in this whole class, really.
I think production is underrated. I think there's a lot of guys. I think it's just underrated. I mean, that's why I was, I like some of the quarterbacks over Will Levis, because Will Levis didn't have production and these other guys did. And I was having him drop down my list. But hey, let me give you some shout outs here. I got Skull Mafia in the house. I think people are doing double duty because I think Rap's still going. But if he's over, I might have. I see the people are starting to hop on. Make sure you hit like. I appreciate it. Get this show going. Skull to all you guys. Mary, my worthless opinion. Too evil to hope. Dylan, awesome. Too evil hope again. Oh, and Rap must be done because he's in the house. Great show, man. Great show. I was watching. I have it up here. It looks like you're still going on my end, so I don't know, man. But I appreciate it. Dylan, what's up? Hey, Dave, I want to ask you some questions just because I think it's hilarious. Is Addison going to beat out Thomas Hennigan? So you probably, Dylan, you probably saw my tweet because Rap has and I'm covering up Dave's face. So let me get that off.
That's cool.
I'm like, here, sorry, man. Rap was big on Thomas Hennigan last year, and I put in his chat. I don't think he said it because he didn't read it out loud. I asked if Addison would beat out Thomas Hennigan from Appalachian State, who got hurt in preseason and then he got put on the DL, and he's probably going to still be at camp. But yeah, I don't think Addison's going to have any problem beating out anybody. And I think KJ Osborne is now solidified as our third receiver. Of course, you got to see him in camp, but when your head coach is on air, you can hear him say he's a day one starter. KJ's probably going, I'm a number 3 now. Let's have to deal with it. So what do you guys think? KJ Osborne, number 3 receiver. I'll start with you, Dave.
I mean, at first, he has to come into camp and actually prove himself and see what he can do. I feel like it shouldn't just be given to him just because of his draft status.
Your coach says you're a day one starter, and you haven't even put on the uniform
yet. But I mean, I like KJ, but as for a number 3, I mean, he's a good number 3 going forward.
Yeah. We do not have a problem at receiver now. I don't think we got. And then my Jalen Naylor, my brother from another mother, the guy I love so much. I listed him as our best value last year because I thought in a less deeper high-end draft that we had, he would have been, if healthy, because he broke his hand his senior year. But that dude was on track for well over 1,000 yards. He's having a great season, broke his hand. I thought he would have went late second, early third on a weaker wide receiver draft. So I thought we got a great, and honestly, when he got in there, he played better than I expected. I would think receivers would have trouble just, spots, coming in at spots like he did. But I mean, like this first 5 catches of his career for first downs is actually pretty amazing. Then he got that touchdown against the Bears. So yeah, what do you guys think of Jalen Naylor? I'll start with you, Dave. I've never heard you talk about Jalen Naylor, so go ahead.
Quick question about the receivers, though. With getting Addison, do you think that Jalen Reagor is on the bubble now?
Oh, I mean, he was on the bubble because we got that guy in free agency, I think. Because whoever wins the punt return job, and let me bring this guy up. This guy is pretty good too, and I seen him return punts. Let me get rid of this so I can see your face. Malik Knowles. He's playing for Kansas State, but this guy looks like a legit receiver, and I seen his return ability. It's pretty good. I seen a kick return. I don't know if his punt return ability, but it's kind of a guy. And then we picked another guy in UDFA right after him. I forget what school it was, but he's also a punt returner. I don't think he's going to make it, but I think Malik Knowles has got a chance, especially if he's returning. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I just think it's just like you said, the receiving corps is a luxury right now, and I think Rager might be the odd man out.
Too Evil to Hope, talk to KOC about that. He's the one that said he was a day one starter. I'm just repeating it. But hey, he's at least a number 3. So I say it's a great problem to have. Yeah. A great problem to have. We got more guys in here. Mike, Sports Vibes. I think rap must be officially over because you guys are jumping in. Appreciate it. Long time no see. Hey, Bob, what's up, man? All right. What do we got here? Rager should definitely be on the bubble. Sorry, Quasi. That might be sunk cost. God, they're just what do you think about Rager, Dave? Do you think he just doesn't have it? Because he doesn't.
Don't think he has it. I mean, I liked him coming out. I actually liked him more than JJ.
There's some guys who were not disagreeing with you, like Purple for the Win. JJ, there was another guy I heard, another YouTuber was like, Rager and talking Rager, and JJ was like, slot receiver, whatever. Yeah.
Right. So, but I just think like maybe him having a full training camp with, Keenan McCardell, maybe he can help him out, with his separation, something like that. But I think like when it comes to like gadget plays, he's so fast on like jet sweeps or just getting them in space. But you don't want to kind of have some of those plays in your offense too much because you kind of tip your hat if he's coming in and he's not running a route. It's some gadget play. So I wouldn't be surprised if he made the team, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets cut too, considering the younger talent coming in that can actually do the same thing.
Yeah, one of my things about having a receiver that's a gimmick player is he's coming in, that's what's going to happen. My thought, the way before the season, I thought, hey, we're going to do this hurry up offense, and we were going to run receivers in and out and keep the pace going. But we didn't do that. We just keep the same 3 guys out there the whole time. We didn't run receivers in. They didn't give them, I just have like a long route, you'd step out the field, get the other guy in the huddle and just kind of rotate receivers in and out like that. We didn't do that at all. And I don't know if it was because, we had younger guys that they maybe didn't trust in there. They didn't earn their, reps. I would have to think that because their whole idea is we're going to get up to the line with 15 seconds on the clock. We're going to hurry the line. We're going to get, get set. And, but we didn't throw the ball down the field that much, especially early in the season. So I'm kind of hoping we do that. We get these guys involved. We get, KJ Osborne in there more, let's say, we're going to be running more 2 tight end sets. It sounds like. Is that even less opportunity for wide receivers? Can JJ even get 1,500 yards in this offense with a Addison on the side and 2 tight ends in there? I just, what do you guys think of where we're going with the offense? Let's start with you, Johnny.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I on these shows I've said like I didn't feel wide receiver 2 was nearly as big of a need as cornerback, linebacker, or interior defensive line for that exact reason.
For me, it was because I love Jalen Naylor.
Yeah, that's right. But it's going to be different than this past season when we're just living in 11 personnel and we have 3 wide receivers on the field at all times. Like it's at least not shaping up to be that type of offense. We'll probably see more 12. Some 21. We re-signed CJ. Heavier personnel where it's going to be difficult for KJ to find opportunities, at least on early downs. But I think they'll use that heavier personnel to kind of keep fewer defensive backs on the field for the defense and kind of force them to play that way, even on passing downs in some cases. But I don't think. To the earlier question, I don't think it's disrespect to KJ to kind of assume Addison has that wide receiver 2 job. I think worst case scenario is KJ wins the job.
Right.
Because at that point you're thinking about the investment at 23.
Yeah, you're wanting Addison to win the job. It's not like you're disrespecting. We're expecting you to win the job, Addison. Hey, this is a great question. Too evil to hope. I wonder if Nwanga will even make the final roster. And the reason being is because we drafted this guy, and
my God,
and you, Johnny, called this as a player to look for. And there's some people had him ranked at like 140th. I think I want to say NFL.com did. And then Mel Kiper had him in his top 100 players come out of the draft. You talked about him, and we're like, we got him in the 7th round. So what do you think of this guy, man?
Gigantic steal in the 7th. I think to that point, he's a much better pure runner than Kene. You expect Kene to be the best kick returner on the team. But even if we move on from Cook, I'd expect us to keep 4 running backs if Kene makes the team. I don't see this guy or Ty Chandler getting cut. Or obviously,
I don't think this guy makes it onto the practice squad. If he does,
I don't think so.
Someone's going to steal him unless
I think he gets poached.
God forbid, gets hurt, and we put him on the DL and we have him next year, kind of thing.
Right. So you'd want to at least have the optionality of working Nwangwu into the offense. If you're
is that a word? Can I get a check, David? Is optionality a word? I want your opinion on this.
It works. It works.
Hey, Dave, was this guy on your radar at all? We're even thinking running back in this draft.
I knew they were going to pick a running back, but I didn't think this guy was going to be available.
Yeah, you didn't think it was at 7, right?
Available. Like the way he runs, he has good vision. He's a little patient. He can hit the hole pretty fast. Like, I mean, it looks like on offense, receiver, running back. It's there's a lot of jobs that right there. And I don't really think Kane's going to make a team this year. I really don't.
He's got. I mean, honestly, he impressed me a little bit because he could catch passes. I didn't know he could do that because you don't get to see that at Iowa State. So Nwangwu did impress me there. It's one of those things like nobody's getting enough carries to actually show what they can do. I almost love Ty Chandler as much as I like Jalen Naylor. I love Jalen Naylor. So I'm big on Ty Chandler. I think we got a crazy good running back group.
Yeah.
If we're talking about Kenny Nwangwu potentially not making the team, he's not making the practice squad.
No.
So he's either got to get cut or traded. But is he in this league where every kick's going into the end zone enough to keep a guy like Kenny Nwangwu on the team just to return kicks? It's tough. It's a tough ball game. I kind of think he'll end up somehow because we'll probably trade Cook or cut him soon, and that he would still make the team with 4 running backs. So that's my thought now, is that Cook is still going to be gone, and it saves Kenny's job, or at least gives him an opportunity to stay on. And who knows? Maybe Ty Chandler, he got hurt. Maybe he gets hurt again. Who knows? Or one of them does. It's a good problem to have, though.
Yeah, so it's a good problem to have. Yeah.
Now, the 2nd round pick, let's talk about this guy. Honestly, I didn't know who he was because I don't have enough time to look at. And NFL.com had him buried at like 240th, 41st top cornerback in the on their board. Sorry, I keep covering your face. They had him at NFL.com had 41st. I had to look on the page 3 to see this guy on their draft board, and there was nobody drafted from the 2nd page. So I'm like, my first thought was, who is this guy? Of course, I later look at the videos and then later find out PFF ranked him like 2nd cornerback on their grades. So I realized, now I see what you have in him, but he's really handsy. My first thought, and I guess I'll go first, is that we had Duke Shelley. He did fight. He was scrappy. He was a good cover corner. I see all those things in Mekhi Blackman. We could have had him for $1.3 million. Of course, this is cheaper, and we got him for a longer time. But I was like, hey, we could have kept Duke Shelley. You go just draft another Duke Shelley. with the few picks that we have. But hey, if this turns out he looks like a legitimate potential starter in this league, so I have no qualms about it now. But my first thought is like, hey, we just got a younger Duke Shelley.
Yeah.
Is that what your thoughts are, Dave? He's a pretty similar player.
Yeah, pretty similar player, but I just like what they're doing. They're making a lot of these positions where, if there's guys need to step up, and competition is always good, especially younger guys coming in. And I mean, I'm with it. I really don't care too much for USC guys, but it's okay.
Well, one of the things that I'm gonna bring this up is like this guy. There's talked about how Mekhi Blackman was wanting to get first in line so he could go compete against Jordan Addison. And I think both these guys are guys that show up early, study, are students of the game, work hard. And I think that it seems to be a theme of Kwesi and his draft strategy is getting high character guys that work hard and are team players. And I think that showed up in this guy too. Let me bring him up. He's Lewis Cine was like the heart of the defense, right, for Georgia. They talked about. I hear the same things about Jay Ward. Now, when we took Jay Ward, I thought we had the skinniest draft in the NFL because we took 3 guys that are paper thin almost. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but we had 3 guys under 190 pounds, and another one in Jay Ward. Did you guys have this guy on your radar? What did you think of him? He seems like it'd be a Swiss Army knife on the defense. Johnny, what were you thinking when you picked him?
Yeah, I like Ward. Really quickly on Blackman though too, before we move off of him. I watched his. I've been watching as much Mekhi Blackman tape as I can find. I watched his game against UCLA. I know we all liked Dorian Thompson-Robinson a little bit, and I watched his tape against that offense. My takeaways from that are, I think he's a little bit similar to Duke Shelley in that I don't think he would function terribly well in the slot. I think he should be a boundary corner. They might try him in the slot a little bit. But that was kind of Duke's thing. He was undersized, but also not great in the slot.
I got this thing. He's telling me Duke is a zone corner. Dave gets killed in man. When I watched tape of him, I thought he was a cover corner to me. I thought every single one of our corners were playing out of character. Do you feel like Duke was a zone corner?
Well, Duke was kind of hidden in like we would play a lot of quarters. And he would just have, one boundary would kind of be his responsibility. He was able to stay moving in a straight line.
Well, that was our defense, though. I mean, that was our defense,
right? And that's why I think it helped a guy like Duke Shelley. That's why I think it helped a guy like Patrick Peterson later in his career. But the thing with Mekhi Blackman is he's great in those types of defensive play calls as well. He's a guy who is not going to get beat deep. He does a great job staying over top. Where he struggles at times, in my opinion, from what I saw, is, switching his hips. He struggles in the stop and go at times, but he does an excellent job staying in phase in man on any type of vertical routes. And he also triggers really quickly downhill if anything's thrown to the flat on his side. I think he's almost 6 feet tall. And I think in his press man encounters, he's got a great jab. He stays in phase, especially out of the release. He mirrors receivers really well. I think Flores is going to like that. And like I mentioned, he's not a guy who's going to get beat deep, which is going to help the functionality of any type of zero blitzes they call with him on the back end. So I like Mekhi Blackman a lot more after watching him some than I did initially, just because there were other guys that I had watched that I had heard more about. But Jay Ward's cool because he is extremely versatile. And I think that's going to help. He'll kind of fit in anywhere he can in the defense. And there were even, just, stupid little arguments about, oh, he's a corner. No, he's listed as a safety. Well, they called him as a corner. He does all the shit, man. He plays ball. He's a defensive back.
So Skull Mafia, if you know, I hate being proven wrong. NFL.com, Duke Shelley, strengths, #1, instinctive cover man. So I'm just going to go there. I'm sorry. I'm just going to go there. I'm going to go to NFL.com and his draft profile with his #1 strength overall, Duke Shelley, instinctive cover man, 39 passes defended in 38 career games, possesses NFL quicknesses, and they said from the slot. Honestly, he turns out not to be a very good slot at the Bears, and that's why we got him. But hey, NFL.com and all their draft experts, instinctive cover man. So that's the way I felt. I felt like he was a cover guy, just like Duke Shelley. Anyways, I hate to be proven wrong, so I always got to come. I never even read that before. I just went to look just to see if I thought I was crazy to think that Duke Shelley was a cover guy, but apparently NFL.com thought so too. So there you go.
Well, he's decent at the catch point. I think it's about kind of his, his change of direction, his staying in phase, in and out of breaks. Like he was good in that kind of niche role, and that was not going to be something that was replicated in this year's defense. So I get moving on from Duke. I was very attached to Duke though as well.
David, here's a question. You attack this one. Are you guys thinking all the players' trades of Cook, Zadarius, and Cook are coming post June 1st to grab 2024 draft stock? Now, yes. Of course, I do because the draft is over. But what are your thoughts? Like, who do you think's staying and going? I think he might have said Cook, Zadarius, and maybe Danielle Hunter.
Yeah,
but
I think Cook and Zadarius are gone. I think Danielle stays. He gets another contract because I think you really want to see what Danielle can do in the aggressive defense again. And I understand like Zimmer and Flores is not the same person, but they do come off the same coaching tree. So I think Danielle stays, but Zadarius and Cook, I mean, Cook's my guy, but they're probably traded post June 1st. Yes.
Well, yeah, I'm just. What are we going to get for him? Obviously, we'll take anything now for wanting to trade him anyways. Cutting him would help him, but you think Cook. Where am I going to find $8 million $8 million payday? Right, if he stays on the Vikings, he's going to have $8 million in cash this year. Where is he going to get $8 million payday? Maybe there's somebody out there that will sign him and give him that money, but at this point, it's like, hey, could I take less money to stay on this team and make more money than if I left? And that's where it's gonna happen. But I'm like 90% Cook's gonna be gone. I don't know why I even allow for 10% out of nostalgia, probably. But Johnny, what do you think? Is Danielle, Cook, or Zadarius any one of those guys? We all think probably Danielle Hunter has the most likely chance to stay.
Yeah,
but Zadarius. I mean, we got him on a team-friendly contract. He would force his hand, maybe. You're going to play for us, or what? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we have all the leverage in the Zadarius situation. If it was me, I'm just extending Danielle. He's not going to play on this cap number. You're not going to recoup the same value he would bring if he's healthy and even some semblance.
We're not going to find a better player than Danielle Hunter, right?
No, you're not going to find one in the same ballpark. And then I think if you've got Marcus Davenport sitting there, if Zadarius really wants to make a big fuss, then again, I mean, all the leverage is with Minnesota. So as long as they're able to get something decent back, I mean, if they cut him, they save a ton of money as well. Like it's not, he doesn't have a ton of bargaining chips to play with, frankly. But with Danielle, he's not going to play this year on this number. It doesn't look like anyway. I would just extend him. Good player, high value position. As far as Cook goes, yeah, I think we have plenty of depth at that position. I think you're off pretty scot-free with a Dalvin Cook move, especially post June 1. And if you get any 2024 capital back, that's gravy at that point. So yeah, I mean, I'm extend Daniil. If you can keep Za'Darius, just keep him. Another good player. You're not going to find another player that good just after having cut him.
You kind of want to see him. And what are your thoughts on this, David? You kind of want to see a Za'Darius Smith in this new defense with Flores, don't you?
Yes, you do. You do. But
I don't. This Bob Swede, make Hunter prove it, then give him a new deal. You know, I don't know if everybody knows this in the chat, but Daniil Hunter is not actually going to probably make any money this year. He's already been paid it.
Right.
But I don't think that's not our problem. That's something he wanted and signed off on it, that we gave him all this upfront money. So I don't, you've already been paid that. In fact, that it benefits you because it's drawn interest somewhere and you've invested it and you got all that money up front. That's better than waiting for this inflation that just happened. So, so he's got his money already. Now, I think more of the idea is like, hey, and players do it, and I don't hold it against them, holding out so they can get that extension. I don't want to play for this contract. I want some insurance that I'm going to still be here in a couple years. But Daniil Hunter, 29, all the free agents we've gotten have been like 26 or younger, right? Where do you put the odds on Daniil Hunter still being here after this year, or even, well, let's just say after this year?
I say about 75%.
You think?
Yeah, 75%. I mean, he is a little bit older, but he's a quality player at a premium position. And we know he had a learning curve last year, with standing up and not having his hands in the dirt. And with this aggressive Flores defense that we think he's going to have, I mean, I just say you just basically, extend them. You extend them for a couple of years and keep going.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna, if you got him a 2-year extension, right, and he's 31, that's kind of the going rate right now. Right. Is like anybody's nearing 30, you're not going to sign them for more than 2 extra years, it seems. But at least you're guaranteed. You'll get like your this year or maybe the following year guaranteed. You're going to get that payday. He's been kind of taking team-friendly negotiations, right? He doesn't give him credit. He doesn't talk about it in the media. He doesn't. There were some cryptic tweets every once in a while. I think remember when they said Zimmer said he tweaked. Yeah. And he goes interesting, and he had an emoji. I'm like, yeah, he missed the whole season in 2020. I'm like, yeah, he's been team friendly. He does deserve more. It's like Thielen deserved more when he signed his deal. I know it was brought up here. Bob Sweetie signed his deal. Well, Thielen signed his deal too, but we still cut him. Yeah. So it's a tough to give, to be, there's two sides of this. Team screws the player screws the team. It's one or the other. But Smith won't go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Well, you move on from Hunter, you end up paying more to not have him on the team because all of his dead money accelerates. He's got void years on his deal. I say just extend into him. He's still a really good edge rusher.
Yeah, no.
The opportunity cost of moving on from him is not. It doesn't make any sense right this second.
And Bob says he put his hand in the dirt. The one thing I like is Forrest says, "Hey, we're going to put players. Are you going to be a 3-4-4-3? Who are we playing?" That was his answer. Mm-hmm. And he said he's going to put players where they're going to succeed. And I don't see him dropping back, covering the middle, like I seen him in one of the games that I played, and then they threw the ball straight over the top of him for a 30-yard. It was like 4th and 18, and they got it, or 3rd and 18, and they got it because we had Daniil Hunter dropping back, covering like a middle linebacker. So yeah, I mean, and one of the things I worry about is like I think we're renting Flores. I think he's going to get a head coaching job next year, especially if he turns his defense around. What about the following year? Now we got Daniil in a 3-4 again with no Flores. and we're gonna have another guy saying, "Hey, Donna Shell defense is the way to go." And I don't know, man. I say if we're gonna misuse a guy, let's misuse a cheaper guy. But Danielle Hunter is like one of those special players where he did make us better, even though he was playing out of position a lot, because he can play the run just as good as he can play the pass, in my opinion.
Yeah.
This team philosophy is so strange that I actually believe it's competitive rebuild, but I don't know how we can pull it off. Are we still? I mean, have we gotten to past the rebuild part of it? Or are we still in the rebuild? Is it? Do you think some people think it's only gonna be done if we change quarterbacks? I guess I don't know how you feel too much about that.
That's when it happens.
Because we did draft this guy, and oh wow, I don't have him. Sorry, let me get my production value. What did I do? Oh, sorry. I can't believe where the hell did my slideshow go? All right, here we go. Sorry, I got to add the stream production value. Yay, Dave. Let's go. Jaren Hall. We drafted in the 5th round. I had him as our 7th best quarterback in the draft. I would have had him even ahead of Will Levis if he wasn't for his height. But I had him 7th. I had him behind the Houston quarterback, and I had him behind Hendon Hooker. But I think because of his height, I didn't have him any higher, and I thought he'd been great. And when we had 2 picks in the 5th, and we're sitting there at the end of the 5th round, and he was the only quarterback I even cared about still in the draft. I think he was like the 11th QB taken.
Yeah.
11th or 12th, and I'm like, well, okay, this is where we're going to take him. Then we're going to take a quarterback, and it's better be him, because I didn't like any of the other ones. And sure enough, we do take him. What's your thoughts of this? Is this a guy that has potential starter ability at all, Dave?
I mean, we don't know yet. I think with this quarterback being drafted, I'm leaning towards like saying if KLC can develop a quarterback, this will be the one that he's going to develop. This will we're going to see what KLC can actually do. I mean, I'm not going to say he's just a guy at this point, but it's just a late round shot. They'll probably draft another quarterback next year.
Yeah, that's one of the things a lot of us talk about is that, hey, if we took a guy like this, that, hey, if it doesn't work out, if we get him in house, we see, hey, this guy is just probably a backup, and we can, have a cheaper backup on a rookie deal, and then get rid of our, backup who we got now that we're paying over $1 million for.
Right.
So that's one of the ideas maybe behind it, but we didn't waste a high draft pick on it, and we can just go after a guy next year. And there was thoughts of like, hey, we brought up earlier, some in the chat that brought up earlier about trading Cook, trading Zadarius, getting more draft capital. Did we get only 1 pick for next year? We got a 5th rounder next year. Did we get any other future picks?
I think that was the only one.
I thought so. I thought that was probably it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 21 watching, only 5 likes. Oh, I'm gonna go check this out. Is that all we got? Let me go check. But so what did you think of, Johnny? What did you think of the pick at quarterback?
I liked him. He and DTR were kind of the guys in that, like, I don't know, 2nd, 3rd tier, whatever you want to call it, of quarterbacks. The day 3 guys. I had watched a lot more Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and frankly, that USC game was terrible. He looked like shit when I was watching Mekhi Blackman.
DTR?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. 3 picks, a lot of bad balls, but Jaren Hall's good, man. He is a little limited in his physical ability. He doesn't have a cannon arm. He doesn't have like great speed and escapability, but he's good moving around in the pocket. Doesn't throw super well on the run, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. I guess I didn't get to see a lot of that in any of the videos I saw, but again, I'm just watching the highlights.
Yeah, and it's a lot of like he makes a lot of difficult plays, and he does a lot with a little, I think, on a lot of plays, or kind of makes something out of nothing in a lot of instances. So I think that's what a lot of what Vikings fans crave is, just kind of that improv ability in the pocket. And he certainly has some of that. I think seems like a really smart kid. A lot of people's, big takeaways are great leader, great locker room presence, smart, absorbs, new offensive concepts and things like that. Don't ruin him.
So Dante went to the Senior
guys.
Bowl, and he did play at the Senior Bowl, and apparently I saw one article that Jaren Hall had like a really bad first day, but I've seen some videos of him from the Senior Bowl, and he looked pretty good. He looked really good.
Yeah.
And I think this was another one of those picks where we got a high character guy, a leader. I think that's again another guy that you can kind of mold. People are going to compare him size wise to Wilson from Denver. I don't see that necessarily. Wilson's like a big scrambler guy, not necessarily guy that's going to run any designed runs for him. They actually designed some runs for this guy. So I feel like he is a decent runner and has good vision when he's running the ball. Passing wise, I thought he was very instinctive. Like he led people open. He threw back shoulder throws, and he wasn't afraid to throw it up and let his receivers go get it, like back of the end zone and stuff. So I think he like has that mentality, like, hey, the odds are good in my favor. Let me make this play, throw it where my guy can get it. And if it doesn't, it's gonna go out of bounds. And that kind of shows up in his 31 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. I mean, he was hurt as the year before and only played in 10 games. And then he didn't play, he went on he's Mormon, so he went on his mission for 2 years prior to that. And he played baseball for a couple of years, but he's 25. I try to remind people, I think Kirk Cousins didn't start until he was 27. And there, if you go look at another Mormon from San Francisco that's in the Hall of Fame right now, he didn't really get his main shot until he was in his 30s. So there's stories out there where guys do play and you get a shot in their late 20s.
Too evil to hope. So I was live on Thursday night, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I kind of had a meltdown when we took Addison.
He did. I mean, let me find his text.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Pull up the receipts, Dave. I was shaking. Listen, with Brian Branch still sitting on the board, and granted, he fell to 45 to the goddamn Lions of all teams. With Branch sitting there, with Banks sitting there, with Joey Porter sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
I was at that point, I was saying slam Brian Branch or even Deonte Banks, or trade back 6-7 spots and get one of the three. We could have traded all the way out of the first and still gotten Brian Branch.
Mm-hmm.
How did you like the pick? Hated it with Branch, Banks, and others still on the board. But I'm coming around a little bit. Maybe Kwesi trade back up. You and
I still thought we could get Branch maybe. When the first round ended, I was like, well, hey, listen, Branch is still on the board, but I was so mad that they didn't get one of those guys at the top. And I'm coming around on Blackman. I'm coming around on Addison. But man, that one flustered me a little bit. In the later rounds, there were, I'm going to say A.T. Perry fell too far. But at that point, we'd taken Addison in the first. So it was like, all right, fine. I guess we'll pass on A.T. Perry and keep passing on A.T. Perry. And Blackman's fine. So, I
can go on PFF right now and mock if you want. No, God, don't. I never want to mock again until next year.
That is so degenerate. You guys, how can you do that already? I got to wait a couple months before mock.
People used to make, like last year, all they talk about, I'd hear people all the time bitching about people mocking. Like it was like a joke. Like people were like, but this year it was like everybody wanted to
Everybody was doing it.
Yeah.
Yep.
David, did you have like a guy that you were like, God, I can't believe we passed on him. This is the guy I wanted at some point during the draft?
Yes, I do. Overshown.
Oh, okay.
That's who I wanted the most, because I felt coming in, the linebacker crew was just not there. Really, I think Asamoah is undersized, and I think it was that Lions game where the receiver just blew him up, and he just he can't shed blocks. And Jordan Hicks is kind of at the end of his career. I was really high on Overshown. I just really thought like he can come in there and give us that Eric Kendricks feel, you know. But
what do you think of Drew Sanders? I was like,
yeah,
like trade back, get me a Drew Sanders, give me Banks went right after us, so I wasn't a shot at him. But we could have got like a Drew Sanders. We traded back. We could. Is that right? He didn't go till the second, right? Drew Sanders. I think that was when he went. But yeah, I was like, there's so many defenders. Mozzie Smith at D tackle. I wanted a difference maker at D tackle. I thought, and Johnny, I don't know if you agree. Like, I thought Mozzie Smith could hold his own and get penetration. He was tough to block. I mean, that's the kind of guy I wanted. Well, we ended up getting this guy, and I don't know what you thought. We bring him up. He's like 303 pounds. He's 6'3". He looks like he's hard to move, but he doesn't look like in his athletic traits apparently aren't the greatest, but he's really strong. So he's like a tough to move guy. He looks like he has gap discipline. He looks like he's a smart player. Again, another theme that we have when we draft players. Is there any thought of this guy making a difference on our defensive line? And I make my first Keenan and Peele joke? Jay Quellen. Some of people are calling him Jacqueline, but I'm like, this looks Jay Quellen to me, man.
It does.
It's pronounced Jaquellen. It's not Jacqueline.
I know. People are calling him Jacqueline, Jaqueline.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is Jay Quellen. As soon as we drafted, I think I said this to somebody. I'm like, I'm doing these, I'm making all these slides, and there's a guy in the draft named Jay Quellen. And sure enough, we draft him, and I'm like, thank God, because now I can make Jay Quellen jokes all the time. And I did, as soon as we drafted him, I did a short, and I had Keenan, his character behind, or Peele, or is it Keenan? Keenan, right? Is it Keenan? I don't know. One of those two guys, in his classroom. I'm like, Jay Quellen, and sure enough, there he is. But yeah, what were your thoughts? Yeah, any more thoughts on this guy?
Dave, I gotta step out on you guys, man. I gotta go.
It's no problem. You said it's fine. Man. You mentioned that you only had the short time, so hey, thanks for giving us the time that you did.
No problem. Going forward, you guys, I'll be available more. Just trying to get my channel together, and it's been a damn process.
Sure. And because of your time zone, it looks like maybe every once in a while, if we do something on Sunday nights, we'll give you a call, man.
Yeah. I'm a West Coast Viking guy, so.
You and SK, if you go look at our Skull, Purple and Scold, the guy that runs that channel lives in your area, so maybe you guys can get together sometime.
Yeah,
That's Sean
Kenner. To hear back to I'm probably going to go and take my nephews to Madison's camp. So once I go there, I'm going to try to go live, and maybe I hit some of you guys up.
That'd be perfect. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. All right. Nice
see you, man. Thanks for joining.
Man. All right.
Yeah, with Roy.
Did I say Keenan? It's Key and Peele.
Key and Peele, yeah.
Dude, yeah, I never watched it. I just saw the clips.
Keegan Michael Keenan.
I don't know.
It's Jordan Peele and something Michael Key. But yeah, I mean, Jaquan Roy,
Keegan. Yeah, Keegan Michael Key. So it is Key and Peele.
Yeah.
So it's Key. Key is the character. The guy plays the character. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, funny skit they do, and that was awesome that we got a guy named Jay Quellen.
Yeah, that's one of the better ones. So I like Jaquan Roy. He kind of fits the bill, It's like heady, disciplined player with like a average res score, but it's kind of one of those guys who Like I saw one of Dylan's
To be fair,
comments.
Dylan, I watched it on TikTok. I watched the clips on TikTok. No, I didn't watch the show when it was live because I cut the cord. It didn't have cable. So all I saw was clips on social media. The same way I watch Saturday Night Live is through clips. I don't watch full shows anymore. Everything is through social media. But I totally interrupted Johnny, and I am sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. Kind of fits the bill though. Like I saw another comment from Dylan. Why am I really questioning our interior defensive line? Dylan, I think that's because you're a thoughtful man and you've put some thought into it and you arrived at that conclusion because I think you're right to be questioning our interior defensive line. That's still a huge need unless Jaquelin Roy is really good, kind of plays above his draft position. You know, it's Harrison Phillips is still fine. I still like Tonga. Lowry's decent. Still leaves a lot to be desired in the run game. Pretty good pass rusher from the interior. But man, it's still a really thin group in my opinion. Still not really a true nose tackle on the roster. Who's worth much at this point. It's an area of the defense I'm really concerned about, frankly. But we've talked about on this show how when Brian Flores held Jared Goff and Sean McVay and the Rams to 3 points in the Super Bowl, he didn't really have these heavy hitters on the defensive line. He didn't have big star players. He had, like Henry Anderson and Lawrence Guy and the kid out of Iowa. See, this is what I'm saying. Not big names on the defensive line. And they had two pretty good linebackers in Van Noy and Hightower that they used a lot. But a lot of the way he used that front was just with interesting blitz packages and dynamic fronts and unpredictability. Like, I think with the guys we have, especially some of the guys we've drafted, and some of their ability blitzing, I think the way he's going to be able to disguise some of these pressures is going to be awesome to see. Harrison Smith, Lewis Seen triggering downfield, Asamoah, if Pace makes the roster, Zadarius Smith standing up over B gaps, Davenport and Danilo screaming off the edges. I like Dean Lowry as a penetrating defensive lineman or interior defensive lineman. I mean, if we can get anything from Asezi Atomo, he had the longest arms in the 2022 draft. So there's definitely some building blocks there. But yeah, man,
as far as
that's
future
a group
tackle.
I'm concerned about. It's a group I'm concerned about for sure, though, Dylan. It's the middle of the defense. It's that and linebacker, and you've got to feel pretty confident about safety with our first round pick coming back healthy. Harrison Smith, a potential Hall of Famer on the end of his career. Lewis Seen coming back from that injury. We're still not, we still don't know exactly what we're going to get from him necessarily. I mean, we can be as confident as we want to be. But when it comes down to the middle of this defense, it's an area of concern for sure. And that's why I wanted a trade down at 23 to address some of these needs with some higher end prospects. But hey, I think they rounded it out pretty well. And if, a couple of these guys hit, it could look like a really good draft class by the end of it. And, we might be glad they stayed so patient.
Where would you, we're looking at like last year and we got injuries, but where did you feel like last year? Because we didn't know each other back then. With last year's draft, I was pretty excited about last year's draft, honestly. After I got to know who Lewis Seen was, but there were some guys that I loved at 12 that ended up going 12th, 13th, and 14th. Three guys I did videos on, and I'm like, I want these guys at 12. And sure enough, they all three went 12th, 13th, 14th. But I ended up getting a guy I wanted, Boo Jr. In the second, which I thought was a great value.
Yeah.
But these guys got hurt. Lewisine, Boo Jr. They got hurt, didn't play much. At the time, though, what did you think of that draft, and how do you feel comparatively to this draft?
I think overall, I like this draft a hair better at a glance, and it's tough to remove the the like back of your head knowing how 2023 or 2022 went with the guys going down with injury. But I did not like the Ed Ingram pick at the time. I liked Asamoah, but I didn't think he was a terribly well-rounded linebacker. I liked the Caleb Evans. I thought it was high for a Caleb Evans. Booth Jr. was well, obviously outside of the top two guys. I knew we weren't
I had him
getting
at 3.
I knew we weren't
3
getting
corner.
Stingley or Sauce, but yeah, he was my next favorite corner. I was ecstatic to get him where we got him. And then the way it rounded out was fine. I like some of I think Addison is a great player. I think, a lot of my gripes with the pick were the other players we could have taken, So now that we've taken everybody, the draft is done and you can look at it as a whole. I think I do like this one just a hair better. I like Blackman. I like the value we got with him at that draft position. The UDFA class is sick. We talked about that for just a minute with David. And I like grabbing the BYU quarterback Jaren Hall at that spot. I think it was a prudent flyer to kind of take because at worst he's a fine backup, and at best he turns into a low end starter in this league, and you could really have something if Kirk goes down or for a transition year. He could be something there. And then, I like double dipping on DB with Jay Ward in addition to Mekhi Blackman. Like I like the versatility he can bring to the table. It seemed like last year it almost was we're almost targeting like the opposite of versatility, like guys who have one or two high-end skills that they bring to the table, and not being able to move around too much almost. But it seems like versatility, on-field production, and character are what they really prioritize in this draft. Like last year were a lot of athletes. This year,
Right.
maybe some more average athletes. And I like overall what I've seen. I'm obviously more present with this draft class. I've been looking at a lot of it.
Right.
Recently, and the UDFAs are way more present in my mind than opposed to, knowing who actually got playing time, knowing what they did on the field last year.
We got a comp here of do you see Stephon Diggs in Addison? I would say I've actually made this comparison to like even Thielen and Diggs because I always thought Thielen and Diggs were pretty similar players. Thielen was just a little bit taller, but both of them like really good route runners, right? But the only where I compare I don't see the comparison is high. I think Thielen made these crazy ass high point catches over people. He just had this body control. I just don't see his ability, and he's got kind of smaller hands. Although he says he has a natural hands for catching. I guess he doesn't drop a whole lot of balls, but I did see a situation where they say Addison drops balls. I don't know. I didn't watch him every game or full games and stuff, but I've heard that is not a big problem with him. But I think that's where he probably doesn't reach the level of a Diggs, is that he doesn't maybe have the hands like in more basket catches and over the shoulder type stuff. Does he really jump up and grab it like you saw in the Miracle or you see Thielen do all the time? I think that's where he falls short. But can he be like a Lockett? People compared him to that.
Maybe something like a Calvin Ridley. They have very comparable RAS scores. Similar size. Ridley's a tiny bit bigger, I think. But
route running, they're he's like
Chris
almost on
runner.
par with those two guys, Thielen and Diggs.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah, similar. Yeah, you know who else is a free agent that I wouldn't mind the Vikings going after is Dalton Reisner, the interior offensive lineman. He was with Denver most recently. I was surprised they didn't grab any O lineman at all in the draft.
Yeah,
Granted,
I was kind of surprised. We got two guys. We got a guy from Jackie Chen from Pace University, and another guy in the UDFA. Purple for the record brought him up because he's an Asian guy, and it's like that's the guy I'm rooting for. Andy from Purple for the win. He's like Andy. He's like Jackie Chan. I'm rooting for this guy, and he puts up this picture. He goes, "I didn't know I was in the NFL," so it was pretty hilarious. Purple for the Purple Pocket Podcast rap. Ivan Pace Jr. Let me get him excited again about me. Let me pull up some Ivan Pace Jr. All right, there you go for you rap. That's for you rap. Ivan Pace Jr. The guy that wears the midriff uni. I don't think you can do that in the NFL, so he might not be able to play without his midriff jersey. But yeah, great awesome UDFA. Great UDFA, man. You called it. I'm glad we didn't draft him in the third round. But I think he fell, and I don't know why. And I want to know why this guy fell. Maybe the height thing, 5'10" is not a big dude. But he's a football player, right? He's attacking the kind of guy I think Flores likes, and that's why we have him.
Yeah, East Coast. Tell us more about Jaren Hall, man.
Yeah, Dante, Jaren Hall, we hear you really like him, and I like him. I had him as the 7th best quarterback. Am I underselling him or am I overselling him? I had him as the 7th best quarterback. And I had him as high as 5 if he was taller.
Yeah, I mean, I like that one. Jay Ward's going to be really interesting because it's like he's another one of those guys that him lining up in like a specific spot on the defense doesn't really tip your hand because he can do so many things. Kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. Could play some slot corner, can play some will linebacker at times, it seems like. And then some safety. Nominally, he was listed as a safety, but then when the Vikings brought the card up, they had him as a cornerback, I think.
Yeah, I heard something about that. I didn't get to hear the announcement because I was driving the not so rich and famous around in an Uber vehicle. So I didn't hear that, and but I just heard the way the NFL broadcast was talking about him, that he was a Swiss Army knife on the defense, and he had the high character, hardworking heart of the defense they used, and you could kind of see in the highlight tapes and stuff of him and the players how they just rallied around him, and he got kind of hurt, and everybody just ran over there and pat him on the back. Let's go. So he just kind of seems like he's kind of that leader Kwesi's always talking about, the kind of high character guys. And he probably likes his music because Kwesi, that's all he talks about when he's being interviewed, is like what player said what they listen to, what's on their playlist.
Yeah, that's right.
He must have a good playlist.
Yeah, man, he's funny.
Yeah, East Coast. They were telling us you like or Too Evil to Hope said you were liking Jaren Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Give us the skinny.
Triple P's already got him starting this year, mid-season. Triple
Mary's P's got on him.
Hall is good, coachable, great leader, like the presser. KOC is going to be great with him. Yeah, he had a great interview. He said all the right things, and it didn't come off fake. Didn't come off at fake at all. This guy sticks to his beliefs, man. And, he does the 2-year mission. He wants to do it. He wanted to go to BYU so he could do that. But if you're a Kirk guy that thinks he's kind of lame because of the religious side of Kirk, well, we just got a Mormon that went on a 2-year mission, so we may got kind of the same guy that sticks to his he may talk about things like that. We're kind of getting the same high character guy that you can really rely on, and I don't think he's going to be any bit. I think we got a good quarterback group, because even our backup is I think he's a team player too. You could see him get excited when we played good, at the post-game celebrations. He's never sees the field, but yeah, he's excited. And I think Jaren Hall is going to be the same way. So I think we got a good group.
Yeah, Mullins can hold the shit out of that clipboard.
I'm not going to give my opinion. I'm going to let y'all celebrate. I've talked about him, several others, a bunch on y'all shows. You got to remember, hey, Dante, if you don't mind, I'm going to invite you again, because I do want you to talk about him now that we drafted him, because I did know he was at the Senior Bowl and you got to see him play. I think Thor Nystrom wrote about him and wasn't impressed. So I want you to tell me why Thor Nystrom's wrong, because he's talking about him kind of bad. And we drafted him. He wasn't even near, he didn't want anything to do with him. And he wrote an article after the Senior Bowl about him not playing well that first day. So I kind of want to hear your opinion, because another guy on Purple Daily that does the draft stuff really loves him. So I want to kind of hear your opinion, because you got to see him in person. Apparently, we're told you interviewed him.
Yeah.
And yeah, you probably brought it up, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
You gave us a C+. I gave us a B. So I'm not too far off, man.
Yeah, I was pretty whelmed.
You were whelmed. You were not underwhelmed. You weren't overwhelmed. You were whelmed.
Yeah, just some whelmed. Like I said, I was really low on the selection at 23, just because, I think we could have maximized this particular draft a lot more if we would have traded down or gotten one of those ready to contribute defenders in that were on the board there at 23. The board fell beautifully if we wanted to take a defensive back. And they went Addison. So, I'm interested to see how he does in the offense for sure. But I don't know. Everything from there is just so. It's going to be hit or we're not going to know anything really until these guys see the field. Like I said, I've watched a ton of Mekhi Blackman. I still have to get to the LSU guys. As far as their tape goes, but I don't know. It's just pretty average draft. I guess I might go somewhere between you guys or around that area. C+, B-, something like that. It was a matter of doing what they could with what they had at the time. Just kind of one of those things. So there were a lot better drafts that I'm certainly envious of. I have a buddy who's an Eagles fan, and he was pissing me off, every 25 minutes on day 2. He was like, they took this guy. Let's fucking go. And it was just, a prospect I wanted that was bugging me. They got, and there's a lot of stuff about their first round, obviously, that I'm sure everybody's said at this point. But with Carter and Smith, even Nolan Smith at 23 or a little later, I was so shocked that he was still on the board at that point. There were some crazy fallers on the defensive side. So that was my only gripe, I guess. My only specific gripe was I feel like we could have gotten a lot more of those high value defenders higher in the draft. But I don't mind the selections we made a little bit later as far as the defense goes. We'll see how they pan out. Early returns on Blackman, who I've watched, are, good, not great. And I've still got to get to the LSU guys, so we'll talk about that next week a little bit, I'm sure.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions in the chat? Anybody? Before we go, I got like 5 more minutes, and we're gonna call it. But I think my final thoughts on the draft. Yeah, I'm formally inviting Dante to come on Tuesday. I thought we hit everything, except I really wanted a difference maker on D tackle. I really wanted a high impact guy that would come in and I don't think there was enough of them in the draft. I just don't think there was enough of them.
We grabbed the Georgia kicker.
Yeah, we got a UDFA. But hey, I'm more about what the hell happened. I'm more about, hey, this will be them being together for 2 years in a row, and because we've always been a new guy in one of the positions, and to have the snapper, the holder, and the kicker all on the same team, 2 years in a row working together, I feel better about that, and I think our kicker got better throughout the season. I don't know what's with these extra points being missed. Otherwise, I thought he was pretty solid, except for that one game where he missed did he miss 3 field goals? I don't know. He had a really bad game.
Might have been 3.
Anyways, we got a kicker in camp. He beat out the last guy pretty easily because he didn't miss, and that's because the other punter was this holder on all the makes, and our new punter was the one holding when he missed in practice, and he wins the job because he's a better punter. But that's what I was worried about, is like having a new punter holding for the guy. So yeah, I'm worried about kicker, but I'm not too worried about kicker. I think that's like maybe it's in the top 10 of worries for me, but my worries is like D tackle, interior line. Those are really my only 2 worries. I like all of our positions better. Maybe I would like 2 shutdown corners, right? I wouldn't mind having 2 instead of maybe we have 2. Or maybe we might not even have 1, but we have a good group. Yeah. I would take better than average right now. But who knows with a new defense attacking, these guys not having to cover as much or as long, how much different that'll make on this defense.
Right.
I keep covering your face. I got to get the new format here. I appreciate it. Yeah. So East Coast Gridiron. We're gonna try to get you on Tuesday if I can. Hopefully. He's good with that. Hey, I gotta tune in Tuesday, 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern. We'll have Dante from East Coast Gridiron to tell us all about our new quarterback that we drafted. So stick with us on Tuesday. What else? I wanted a receiver that was going to make a difference. So that checked a box for me. I think we've got one that's going to make a huge impact on our team. I'm like, if we're not a top 5 offense after what we did in this draft, I don't know what else to think. Fire everybody if we're not a top 5 offense, because I don't see us with the receivers we have, the running backs we have. We can at least, I don't know where our running game went last year, but it wasn't reliable. So hopefully, because the offensive line was known for their run blocking ability, and they didn't really do that well. But we were behind. We had to give up running the ball because we had to come from behind and win all the time. We weren't closing out games with the run game, right? So maybe that had a lot to do with it. Kirk Cousins had his second most passing yards as most he had as a Viking last year, probably because of that. So I don't know. I felt I'm willing to give our offensive line one more year before we gotta break it up. If Ed can come out and prove it this year. Yeah, I don't know if Ezra can solidify, be a little more reliable. That interior line, man, if we could, it's a first rounder and 2 second rounders on that interior line. They should be good. Let's go, guys. I don't know what the hell. Your final thoughts, man.
Yeah, I was hoping we got a little bit of competition on the interior offensive line. I wouldn't mind.
You don't think Jackie Chan from Pace University is gonna do it?
No, one guy who fell pretty far is Andrew Voorhees, out of another USC guy.
Yeah, I had someone mention that in one of my comment section. Something about how he had injury.
So he tore his ACL. I want to say it might have been Achilles. Those always.
Yeah, I heard ACL. I heard it was ACL.
ACL. He tore his ACL and then still did the bench at the combine and put up 4 more reps than anyone else on the bench. 38 scary. At 225. And he was projected to go second round, I think, before that, second, third round. Ended up falling pretty far, and I think maybe even not for immediate competition, he would have been a nice guy to pick up and have recover with the team and project out to 2024, especially if we have another relatively underwhelming year from Ed Ingram. But outside of that, man, looking at the draft as a whole, I think they did a decent job getting talent into the building. I could have hoped that they addressed some needs with a little more vigor, especially like the interior defensive line, like we talked about. I would have liked to have seen a linebacker as well. Dorian Williams fell pretty far. I don't know. There were a lot of prospects that I grew pretty attached to, and I think interior defensive line, linebacker, still an issue in my opinion. So we'll see what happens there.
What's one guy you really like that we picked up? Like good value or whatever.
The only guy I'm comfortable. Well, I love Dwayne McBride in the 7th.
Okay.
But the only guy outside of him that I've watched more than more than highlights or more than just a quick thing, I've watched 2 full games on Mekhi Blackmon, and I do like what I've seen from Mekhi Blackmon overall. I wasn't blown away by him. There are some things that I'm not a huge fan of right away. But I like getting him in the mix with Brian Flores' defense. I think he'll be pretty solid. So Mekhi Blackmon late in the 3rd, I think, is it. And what's great about that trade down, they moved back 15 spots. Not a single cornerback went in those 15 picks between when we traded down, and then ended up getting Mekhi Blackmon. So that was
I did tell you that. I did tell you though, I had to go to NFL.com. I didn't even have a slide made for him. It was like, thank God we didn't do a show because we didn't pick until the last pick on day 2. I was thinking maybe we would have traded something. There might have been something to happen that we got in there.
I thought there was going to be more action.
Right? I thought there was going to be something that we did, but no, we traded down to the last freaking pick. So that would have been a misery, but I didn't even have a slide made of him. And I had to go. And when I went to look for his NFL profile, I found him on the 3rd page at 41, and nobody in the 2nd page had been drafted yet. And there was only like 8 or 9 guys on the 1st page drafted yet. So it's like, holy crap, we drafted 41. Only 8 people have been drafted since. But then I saw that. And then I saw how he ranked in PFF. Saw his videos and ranked in PFF. I thought, God, this guy gets in people's hip pockets. He fights. He's handsy as fuck, though. I seen him pulling on people's jerseys, but he's
might wear the
boxing
gloves in camp. He might throw the boxing gloves on.
Might
in
have to
training
throw
camp.
the boxing gloves on.
Yeah.
Here's some last things. I had to be. Oh yeah, so East Coast. I know you weren't really high on Levis. Neither was I. I put him. I only put him at 5 on my I didn't put any rankings out there, but in my head I had him as 5, even behind Hooker, but only because of his physical attributes. But yeah, I wasn't too excited if we were gonna Will Levis. Didn't even made 1,500. See, you did what? Okay, they're just talking. Porter dad was good. Yeah, Porter Jr.'s dad was awesome.
Yes, sir.
But hey, thanks for joining us. I am not, and all of a sudden we had a jump up of like now we're at 24. But everybody who liked the chat or liked the video, thank you. If you could, before you leave, go hit like on this video. Go leave comments. I think I'm gonna actually take these videos and put them on a podcast, these longer forms, because now I realize I can actually download them and then upload them to
just the audio
podcast. Yeah. So yeah, we'll be on all the podcasts now. But I'm going to talk to Johnny whether or not we're going to be on Thursday, since we already did Sunday. I don't want to be talking about the same thing every day for a week. So
right.
Hey, thank you guys for joining us. I'm not positive we'll be on Thursday, but we definitely be on next week. Skull Vikings, let's go. I'm out of here.
Cool, guys.
See you next time.
Thanks.